Lagos, the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Laddie Williams.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Department of State Services arrests former Minister of Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, hands him over to the ICPC over allegations of certificate forgery. And a federal high court in Abuja grants request of former Petroleum Minister Diezani Alison Madueke to present evidence of acquittal by United Kingdom court. Also tonight, the Independent National Electoral Commission and the National Orientation Agency strengthened partnership to address voter apathy, vote buying, and other electoral malpractices. And 1 week after a double earthquake rocks Venezuela, rescue workers pull out a 3-year-old boy from under the wreckage.
On business news, Central Bank of Nigeria revokes licenses of 46 microfinance banks for failing to meet the regulatory requirements for their continued operation.
On sports news tonight, Hurricane scores 2 late goals to rescue England from a shock FIFA World Cup exit, securing a 2-1 victory and a place in the round of 16.
And from the nation's capital, Nigeria police announces dismantling of a criminal gang responsible for abductions and killings along FCT Nasarawa border communities.
And a major anti-corruption development leads us off tonight as operatives of the Department of State Services have arrested former Minister of Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, at the Akanu Mbiam International Airport in Enugu. He was intercepted while attempting to board a private jet to Abuja. Security sources say the arrest was made on the request of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, following multiple petitions over his conduct while in office. The ICPC had reportedly invited him on several occasions for questioning, but after what it described as limited cooperation, it sought DSS assistance. Following his arrest, Mr. Nnaji was handed over to the ICPC for further investigation into allegations relating to his tenure as minister. And to the courts now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted an application by former Petroleum Minister Diezani Alison Madueke to present evidence of her acquittal by the SOAC Crown Court in London, United Kingdom. Justice Iyang Ekwo approved the motion, a notice moved by her counsel, Godwin Yibo, after it was not opposed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission lawyer, Professor Oyetibo. The UK court had on June 17 discharged and acquitted the former minister of bribery allegations. Diezani, in the ongoing suit, is seeking to recover her forfeited assets, requested leave to file a supplementary affidavit introducing a fresh UK judgment. Although the EFCC initially questioned the motion as unnecessary, it did not formally object when the matter was called. The court consequently granted the application and adjourned the case to October 6 for hearing, where both preliminary objections and the substantive suit will be considered together. And in electoral matters now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the National Orientation Agency are strengthening their relationship to reduce voter apathy, combat vote buying, and other electoral vices in the forthcoming general election. Director General of the NOA and the Chairman of INEC disclosed this at a meeting at the INEC headquarters in Abuja. The two agencies also hope to strengthen their partnership in other areas such as voter education and campaign against vote trading and electoral violence.
The presidential election and National Assembly election fixed for 16th of January. The governorship and houses of assembly polls fixed for February 6th. We must begin the heavy lifting right now. This is the moment to institutionalize our collaboration. I want to see a strong working relationship between INEC Voters Education Department and the NOA's communication team. build joint campaigns against toxic menaces of both buying and misinformation. We need to increase the number of people who come out to vote. The percentage is still very low compared to the registered voters. So we need to promote people and ensure that they come out to vote. We need to let them understand the process. We need to even let them understand beyond the process that even after the election, what happens next. When you go to court, what are the issues? You need to let them understand all of that.
Staying in politics now, the leadership of Citizens Democratic Alliance are asking the Independent National Electoral Commission to implement the judgment of the Federal High Court in Abuja, which ordered the commission to issue a certificate of registration to the leadership of the Citizens Democratic Alliance. Addressing journalists in Abuja, chairman of the party applauds the Federal High Court judgment, commending the justices for their courage to defend democracy and the rule of law. According to the chairman, the era of litigation of the rights to be registered or not is over with this judgment, as attention now shifts to the 2027 general election. CDA was among the 14 applicants association who sought to be registered as political parties by INEC last year. The leadership of CDA had approached the courts to challenge INEC's refusal to duly register and issue them with certificate of registration after meeting all the requirements set out by the electoral law.
Today we stand before you not merely as a newly registered political party, but as a movement committed to genuine national renewal. We are driven by social justice and the timeless principles of liberty, equality, and unity. Every policy we pursue, we seek to reduce inequality, protect the vulnerable, uphold the dignity of labor, promote gender equity, and guarantee equal citizenship and equal opportunity for all. We thank the Federal High Court for its judgment, which has now cleared the legal path for our great party, the Citizens Democratic Alliance. That chapter is now closed. As our banner rightly declares, the litigation chapter is over. The nation-building chapter begins. Fellow Nigerians, the Citizens Democratic Alliance is not built around personalities. It is built around principles. It is not founded on convenience. It is founded on conviction and sacrifice.
And to security policy now, the governor of Ekiti State, Biodun Oyebanji, has assured that the state police bill will receive speedy approval at the state level. He gave this assurance in the presidential villa after presenting his certificate of return to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu following his electoral victory in the governorship election in Ekiti State. The Senate leader, Okweyemi Bamidele, who accompanied the governor, said the issue of state police is no longer about political interests or politics.
There's a NEC decision on this. NEC has met and most states have submitted their bills. We are ready for state police, and we are thankful to the National Assembly for the amendments to the constitutions, and we are waiting that it be transmitted to the State House of Assembly. And the donors have made up their mind that they are going to give it a speedy approval so that we can start implementing.
We are putting mechanisms in the law as we are amending the constitution that would prevent or minimize instances of abuse, by state governors. And as much as possible, I believe that it's not everything that can go into the constitution. But what's important at this point is that all the governors, or most of the governors, are on the same page with us. And that will be demonstrated by the speed with which the bill will receive concurrence in their state houses of assembly by the time we eventually transmit. But it's important that we all know that state police is a child of necessity. It's no longer about political interests or political. All of us are on the same page that there's a need for this. And in the amendment to the Police Act that will follow, we'll spell out more details, details that cannot possibly go into the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And turning to matters of national unity, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has warned that Nigeria must never experience another civil war, asking that the country should learn from the painful lessons of its past and do everything possible to prevent a recurrence of the ugly incident. He stated that Nigeria had no business fighting the civil war, as it made renewed appeal while receiving documentary materials on the October 1967 Asaba massacre at his Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta, the state capital.
Some of the things that led to the civil war are still with us. Yes. Now, how long will this be with us for? I think with one of my colleagues, General Yakubu Danjuma, who said we will not survive a second civil war as a country, and we should. I believe that we have fought one civil war too many already. So to say that we will have a second civil war, God forbid, and getting ourselves to know some of what happened and to say, yes, condemn what happened that should not have happened, and then make sure that we do everything humanly possible to prevent reoccurrence.
Into the borders now. The Nigeria Customs Service has again dealt a heavy blow to drug cartels who imported illicit substances, fake and expired pharmaceutical products through the nation's former seaport, Apapa, Lagos. Speaking with journalists at the AP Mola Terminal in Apapa, Lagos, the Controller General of Customs, Adewale Adeni, explained that the 9 seizures were recently recorded by the Apapa Area Command following a painstaking effort, intelligence gathering, scanning analysis, physical examination, and active collaboration with other sister agencies.
The early morning downpour did not stop the Controller General of Customs, Wale Adeniyi, and senior officers of sister agencies from arriving promptly for the scheduled handover ceremony. Speaking on the 9 interceptions, the custom boss says if the seized items had entered circulation, they would have posed serious threats to lives, communities, and national security.
Those 9 seizures have a duty paid value of 53,391,140,029 naira only. These seizures represent far more than monetary value. They represent lives that are protected, families that are preserved, communities that are secured, and countless young Nigerians that will be shielded from the devastating consequences of drug abuse and unsafe medicines.
He adds that the Nigerian Customs Service now has stronger intelligence capacity, advanced technology, and improved operational readiness to detect and dismantle global smuggling cartels through enhanced interagency collaboration.
One of the decisions we made in Brussels last week was that we are going to be cooperating with the International Narcotic Council and Interpol for investigation and prosecution of offenders. Our seizures henceforth of products like narcotics and drugs and expired products will now be forwarded to those partners and international agencies for further profiling and for assistance in the investigation and prosecution of those offenders.
Through relentless intelligence-led operations, non-intrusive inspection technology, and robust intelligence collaboration, we are consistently intercepting prohibited and dangerous goods before they endanger our communities. Today's handover sent a clear and strong message that the Nigerian Customs Service will not tolerate the infiltration of illicit drugs and falsified medicines into our nation.
The intercepted job-related containers were officially handed over to representatives of the National Job Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, while the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAP, received custody of the seized pharmaceutical products.
And in part two, after the break, we see Sickle Cell Foundation brings together warriors to share their experiences in surviving the disease. Join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories now. Department of State Services arrests former Minister of Science and Technology, Richard Naji, hands him over to the ICPC over allegations of certificate forgery. Federal High Court in Abuja grants request of former Petroleum Minister Diezani to present evidence of her acquittal by United Kingdom court. Independent National Electoral Commission and the National Orientation Agency strengthen partnership to address voter apathy, vote buying and other electoral malpractices. And 1 week after a double earthquake rocks Venezuela, rescue workers pull out a 3-year-old boy from under the wreckage. To health matters now. The Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria is challenging the global conversation on sickle cell disease, a group of inherited blood disorders that cause red blood cells to become hard and C-shaped, leading to life-threatening organ damage. To move beyond survival and focus on helping patients thrive. This formed the crux of discussions by the foundation at its virtual meeting, where participants, called Warriors, shared their experiences while surviving the sickle cell disease against all odds. The event has its theme, Beyond Survival, Thriving with Sickle Cell Disorder.
This is a gathering of sickle cell warriors who are meeting virtually to share their inspiring stories. This event, put together by the Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria, has the theme, Beyond Survival, Thriving with Sickle Cell Disorder. According to the Sickle Cell Foundation, in Nigeria, over 5 million people are sickle cell carriers, with over 100,000 deaths of children under the age of 5 recorded annually.
While improving survival remains critical for sickle cell warriors, we have reached a point where we must ask a more ambitious question. Is survival enough? Is survival enough? And the answer is clearly no.
Thriving is only possible when access to quality healthcare is no longer determined by geography or income. It requires functional and well-equipped sickle cell centers and clinics, modern diagnostic and laboratory infrastructure, psychosocial support, research, and a health workforce equipped with the specialized knowledge required to manage sickle cell disorder effectively.
The virtual discussion saw panelists who are survivors, or better known as warriors, share their experiences on living and thriving despite dealing with sickle cell disorder.
When my health started to decline, I became a very early user of hydroxyurea when I was even seen in pediatrics, so years and years ago. It was a miracle drug for me. I went from having a crisis every month to not having a single one in 4 years. But then after 10 really good years on it, the effects started to wane and we couldn't increase the dose as I had just reached tolerance. Any higher, then my neutrophils would drop and it would become too dangerous.
When you speak about going beyond just surviving and now thriving, to be honest, I am thriving. I haven't had a crisis in years, but I have also learned to listen to my body hard. I do not apologize for resting.
Our identity shouldn't only be limited to our diagnosis. I think that's what everybody should understand, including we that are warriors. We should not let anybody convince us that our future is small because of our genotype or we're not able to achieve things or do things.
A representative of the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare says there's need for more awareness and support for those living with sickle cell.
Once somebody has sickle cell disease, the continuum of care is something that we have to provide all to the during the life course of that particular person. And as a result of that, it clearly shows that all hands must be on deck, from government to even the people who are living with the disease itself. That is the warriors.
As part of the event, a posthumous award was given to late Mrs. Toyin Adeshola, who was a sickle cell warrior, as well as a Lifetime Achievement Award to Professor Ibironke Akinshete, and a Lifetime and Legacy Award to Professor Olu Akinyanju, the founder of Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria, for their immense contributions to the sickle cell community.
We are a good fighter.
And for more stories tonight, let's head to our Abuja studio now with Terry. Hello, Terry.
Hi, Laddie. The Nigeria Police Force has announced the dismantling of an alleged notorious kidnapping syndicate responsible for a series of abductions and killings along the Federal Capital Territory, Nasarawa border communities. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Force Public Relations Officer, Mr. Anyeti Iniedu, says a coordinated intelligence-led operation conducted between 24th and 26th of June 2026 by operatives of the Force Intelligence Department Special Tactical Squad arrested 2 suspected members of the kidnapping syndicate during operations in Bagalapi FCT and Maraba, Nasarawa State. He explains that the suspects identified as Buhari Adamu, 25, and Abubakar Seidu, 28, are believed to have played active roles in several violent attacks, kidnappings, and murders within the FCT and Nasarawa axis.
The dismantling of an alleged notorious kidnapping syndicate operating along the Federal Capital Territory and neighboring Nasarawa State is the focus of this parade of suspects. The parade begins with the Force Public Relations Officer highlighting the activities of the suspects who are alleged to be responsible for multiple abductions and killings around Abuja and Nasarawa State.
Today, we present to you a case of kidnapping for ransom and murder. For several years or several months, citizens of Bagalapi, a hilly outskirts between the FCT and Nasarawa State, have been terrorized by kidnappers.
With the arrest of the suspects, the commander of the Force Intelligence Department Special Tactical Squad speaks further on the parade.
Interested to know that while they were in their camp, in their cave, which we call a visited, we conducted an operation yesterday, we found that one of the suspects sustained gunshot injury on his leg. Prior to that time, he sustained injury because he shot himself with this AK-47. And they thought, he has passed on. And with that vexation, they kill all their victims and threw their body into a nearby stream.
Some of the victims share their experiences in the hands of the suspect.
It was after that whole incident, they carried my neighbor's husband, Pastor Nicholas Ako, Alpha. So on 17th, which is Sunday, they called around that to 10 in the morning that they needed 50 million naira. So we started negotiating. They brought it down to 8 million. So they gave us on Monday. On Monday they called because they were still looking for the money. So on Monday they called to ask if we've gotten the money, and we told them no. They now give us the ultimatum of 4 o'clock that evening of the Monday on the 18th, that if we do not get the money, they are going to kill them.
As the suspects await their day in court, the tactical squad of the Nigerian Police Force is reaffirming its commitment to scare all parts of the country.
The President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, says the strategic development project successfully undertaken by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is evidence that President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda will bring unprecedented development to Nigeria. The Senate President, who represented President Bola Tinubu at the commissioning of the Gadowa access roads in Abuja, commended the FCT Minister and urged him to build on the successful projects. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, reports.
This is the commissioning of road development projects in Gadowa district within the Abuja Metropolitan Area Council, constructed by the Federal Capital Territory Administration. The event marks day 16 of the FCT project commissioning, and it's designed to bridge urban development gaps, ease heavy commuter traffic, and improve security within the second phase of the Abuja Master Plan.
No district should be left without having impact of your government, whether in the city or whether in the satellite town. Yesterday, by the grace of God, you were in Kwale to commission the Gomani Dafa Yangoje road for about 13-point-something kilometers. Today, you are in the Gadua district. We have been to Jahi, Warimpa, we have been to Katambe, we have been to Guzape, virtually all the districts. And nobody will say, no district will say that they have not feeling the impact of this administration, unlike what used to be.
Appreciation goes to all the management staff of FCDA and FCDA, our engineers, our contractors, consultants, and development partners for their immense contribution towards the success of this project and also our occasions that we are witnessing today.
The Senate President, who is representing President Bola Tinubu at the commissioning, commends the FCT administration for the project and states that the President is fully committed to the actualization of the renewed hope agenda.
You ended the era of abandoned inner roads, while major highways took all the attention. You are taking developments from the city center into the districts and into the satellite towns, street by street, so that no resident is left behind. That is leadership. You inspect, you correct, you finish. Honourable Minister, you have my confidence, you have my commendation, and the FCT has your results.
Accompanied by leadership of the FCT administration, the Senate President then commissions the road. Daily Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Well, still to come on the news at 10, Central Bank of Nigeria revokes licenses of 4 to 6 microfinance banks for failing to meet the regulatory requirements for their continued operation. That's on Business News. Do stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. The coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says Nigeria is committed to advancing global efforts against antimicrobial resistance through stronger collaboration, prevention, innovation, and domestic investment in health systems. The minister stated this during a courtesy visit by Switzerland's Minister of Health in Abuja, where both countries discussed health cooperation and Nigeria's preparations to host the 5th high-level ministerial conference on antimicrobial resistance in December 2026. Professor Pate noted that Nigeria's approach goes beyond healthcare by adopting a One Health strategy that brings together the health, agriculture, livestock, environment, and water sectors to tackle the growing threats. It is closed that the conference scheduled for December 6th to 8th, 2026 in Abuja will bring together ministers and global health stakeholders to review progress, strengthen commitments, and develop practical solutions to combat antimicrobial resistance.
In southern countries like ours, there's another issue, which is the access to antimicrobials and the prevention of the need for antimicrobials. So we took that mantle on behalf of the countries like ours who are low resourced, who are on an evolutionary path in terms of their health systems, so that we can reframe the conversation that acknowledging the issue of resistance from the clinical perspective, which is prevalent in many of your hospitals and systems in wealthier countries, with a perspective of countries like ours, which is how do we approach antimicrobial use and resistance from a multi-sectoral perspective. So here, myself, my colleague, the Minister of Livestock, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Environment, Water Resources, we work together as One Health.
Yeah.
Because what happens in animal health arena links to human health. What happens in the plant health and the environment links to human health. So how do you bring that perspective so that it's not purely health issue, because there's more antimicrobial used in animal health than in animal production than in human health.
Antimicrobial resistance is a cross-border threat that can only be addressed through collective action. We therefore support ambitious commitment in multilateral forums and promote coordinated approaches across countries and regions. The development of new antibiotics also requires coordinated efforts at the global level, and Switzerland supports incentive mechanisms for innovation, and the strengthening of public-private partnership while ensuring equitable access.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Let's go back to Lagos now with Ladi.
Thank you, Terry. All right, to other stories here now. Nigerian Engineering Olympiad, a nationwide competition showcasing engineering innovation and entrepreneurship among tertiary students, has concluded its grand finale in Lagos. Team Mavericks of Modibo Adama University of Technology, Adamawa State, emerged overall winners. In Actis Nigeria, country director Michael Ajayi emphasized the importance of harnessing Nigeria's creative talent to solve real-world problems, build sustainable businesses, and create jobs.
The Nigerian Engineering Olympiad Grand Finale opens on a high note, featuring inspiring pitches from competing teams in the first edition of the National Innovation
about
Competition.
3.7 gigawatts of continuous electricity.
Designed for students, young professionals and aspiring engineers, the Olympiad challenges participants to apply technical knowledge, creativity and problem-solving skills to real-world engineering challenges, delivering innovative and practical solutions. Speaking at the event, Inactus Nigeria's country director, Mr. Michael Ajayi, reflects on the Olympiad's journey and stresses the need to invest in youth-driven innovation.
So as you leave here, know that you have a lot of value. What you have out there, or even if they are not here in this room, have great potentials to become successful. On our part, we will work with you starting now all through to ensure that we find those organizations, those investors or accelerators that will enable you walk through and transform all, not just the top 4, but the top 12 and even the top 30 innovations, transition them into successful businesses.
Launched in November 2025, the project attracted over 350 applications from 80 tertiary institutions across all 6 geopolitical zones of the country, with only 12 top innovations reaching the final stage.
A resounding applause. Over 6 months.
The climax of the event is the announcement of the grand winner, Team Mavericks of Modibo Adama University of Technology, Adamawa State, whose Ubuntu Sapphire invention delivers instant community alerts during emergencies.
It's so great to be a winner because this is the first edition of Nigeria Engineering Olympiad 2026. And for us to emerge from the Northeast and winners, it's a very wonderful feeling right now.
All 12 finalists received consolation prizes, while the top 3 share a 100 million naira prize pool and other incentives sponsored by corporate partners supporting engineering innovation.
Every stakeholder, including the government, including the private sector, rallying around all of this to ensure that we can begin to have homegrown technologies around the issues that impact greatly on us as a nation.
Beyond the competition, the program offers seed funding, mentorship, technical guidance, and industry exposure to develop a pipeline of skilled innovators and tech entrepreneurs across Nigeria's key sectors.
All right, let's head straight to the world of business now with Dominic.
Thank you, Ladi. And on business news, the central bank has withdrawn the operating licenses of 46 microfinance banks across the country in its latest move to tighten regulation in the Nigerian banking industry. According to the Apex Bank, the affected institutions failed to meet the regulatory conditions required to continue operating as licensed microfinance banks. These include insufficient assets to cover liabilities, shutting down operations without regulatory approval, prolonged inactivity, failure to begin operations within 1 year after receiving approval, and failure to maintain the required minimum capital. The CBN also says the directive takes effect from today, July the 1st. About 2.39 trillion naira is knocked off from the total value of equities listed on the Nigerian exchange as trading begins in July, with renewed profits taken, which dominated the month of June. Willie Bong has the details.
Welcome to the stock market report. Too bad, it's the first day in July and the market could not sustain the gains we saw yesterday. Investors are probably reacting to FTSE Russell's, pausing Nigeria's upgrade to frontier markets, or simply the markets are just continuing with the bearish sentiments we have seen since the month of June. Now, the index reversed gains way too much into negative territory. We see ASI tumbled down 1.63%, losing over 2.3 trillion naira in value today. Now, Ardell lost a whopping 141 naira to close at 1,275 naira 80 kobo. That's a 10% drop, and that also dragged the oil and gas index down by about 4%. Now, as always, it's a zero-sum game in the market. We see Austin Lars, we see Guinness. They are on the Guinness chart today. Some gainers, investors are taking some money home. Now, the NGX today released their half-year review of market indices, and one of it shows NASCON coming on board the NGX 30 index, while O&O and Transnational Corporation will be exiting that index. Will there be a recovery tomorrow? Will Ibong signing out.
And for the global stock markets, they ended the first trading day of July with mixed performance after Wall Street wrapped up a strong second quarter and first half of 2026. Here are some of the closing numbers for Wednesday. And that's it on business news. Back to Ladi for the rest of the news at 10.
All right, thanks, Dominic. Well, still to come on the news at 10. 1 week after double earthquake rocks Venezuela, rescue workers pull out a 3-year-old boy from under the wreckage. You join us. Welcome back. Well, for the latest rescue in Venezuela, here's Simon Pusey from our London studio with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A 3-year-old boy has been pulled alive from the rubble 6 days after the devastating earthquakes in Venezuela. The child, named as Kleiber Moran, was pulled from the wreckage in La Guaira state. Interim President Delcy Rodriguez described the child's rescue as a source of hope for our people. It comes as the UN warns that tens of thousands of people were urgently in need of food and shelter. The death toll from last week's quakes, with magnitudes of 7.2 and 7.5, has risen to 1,943, with more than 10,000 people injured and tens of thousands more unaccounted for.
In La Guaira, the hardest hit state, food shortages are widespread, basic services have broken down, and connectivity has been largely severed.
US President Donald Trump made more than $1 billion last year from business dealings in cryptocurrency. That's according to his mandatory financial report for 2025. In a 927-page disclosure, he reported $635 million in royalties from a Trump meme coin that has plunged in value since he launched it days before taking office. The earnings from his latest financial disclosure far outpaced the previous ones for 2024, when Trump disclosed over $600 million of income. Officials say at least 14 children have died after the roof of a building near Lahore collapsed on top of them. The incident happened at a private tuition centre in the Kanna suburb of the Pakistani city. Young children under the age of 10 are among those to have been taken from the scene. Authorities launched an investigation into the collapse, and 2 people have been taken into custody as part of the initial inquiry. A rights group report says Sudanese paramilitaries committed crimes against humanity and ethnic cleansing during their campaign to seize the city of El Fasher last year. The siege and takeover of the city in the western region of Darfur marked one of the bloodiest episodes in Sudan's civil war between Sudan's army and the Rapid Support Forces. The RSF has not commented on the amnesty report, but has denied previous such accusations. Sudan remains locked in a 3-year power struggle between the regular army and the RSF paramilitaries.
Impunity is at the heart of this conflict. The perpetrators are committing the violations in open daylight. The perpetrators are recording their violations.
It's been 4 days since a small plane slammed into Beijing's tallest skyscraper, killing the pilot, the only person on board, and wounding 13 others. But it's still unclear why and how that happened. A 60-word report detailing the basic facts in state-owned Beijing Daily is the only official statement China has published so far on the crash, which happened just a few kilometers from the Communist Party's headquarters. Dramatic footage of the incident has been scrubbed off the internet as speculation mounts as to how the aircraft managed to penetrate a city which has some of the world's strictest airspace controls.
No bad days when you're outside the International Space Station doing a spacewalk. Williams getting some great photography in while they have a bit of a down moment awaiting this arm movement.
2 NASA astronauts have taken a spacewalk outside the International Space Station lasting 6.5 hours. Covered live on a number of channels and platforms, millions tuned in to watch astronauts Chris Williams and Jessica Meyer exit the station's Quest airlock to replace a wrist joint that malfunctioned. Repairs to robotics are normal and expected after more than 25 years of continuous operations, as the system was designed with replaceable components and planned maintenance in mind. It was the 280th spacewalk in support of space station assembly, maintenance and upgrades. Keepers at Nashville Zoo are celebrating the arrival of 2 clouded leopard cubs, a male and a female, the first to be raised there since 2019. The pair tipped the scales at around half a pound each, notably larger than the average newborn cub. It's a welcome boost for a famously elusive species the zoo has been helping to protect for over 15 years. And the Eternal City buzzed like never before as around 25,000 Vespa riders from 67 countries descended on Rome to mark the scooter's 80th birthday, the biggest Vespa rally ever held. The Grand Parade set off from the baths of Caracalla, circled the Colosseum and rolled past the Imperial Forums to cheers from delighted onlookers.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Hurricane rescued England from a World Cup shock with 2 late goals to beat the Democratic Republic of Congo 2-1 in Atlanta. Bram Chipenga had fired the Congolese into a shock lead after 7 minutes, but Kane scored twice in the second half of a nervy contest to send England into a last 16 meeting with tournament co-host Mexico. The feat ended Congo's fairy tale run on their return to the World Cup for the first time in 52 years.
Yeah, I'm proud of the group, proud of the boys. We spoke before the game how difficult this game would be. You know, you're coming up against a good team who defend the box really well, who are dangerous in the counter-attack, as we saw in that first kind of 20 minutes of the game. So we had to just kind of grind a win out, and I thought we played some really good stuff kind of after 25 minutes of the game. Their keeper made some incredible saves, to be fair to him, and you start to think maybe is it just one of those days, but that's where I'm most proud of the boys and myself as well, just to keep the belief, keep getting the ball into the right areas, and you know, one of us will have our hero moment, and thankfully for me it was today.
Meanwhile, Senegal and Belgium are currently tied on 2-2. The Teranga Lions fumbled a 2-goal lead with Habib Diarra scoring the opening goal 25 minutes of the first half before Ismail Assar doubled the lead for the Teranga Lions 6 minutes into the second half. However, Romelu Lukaku and Yuri Tillemans scored 2 goals in 3 minutes, 86th and 89th minutes. And away from the World Cup, the Nigerian Federation of American Football has announced that the under-13 youth national teams will compete at the NFL Flag Africa Continental Championship taking place in Nairobi, Kenya. The tournament marks the third NFL Flag Continental Championship held in Africa, following events in Nigeria in 2024 and Egypt in 2025. This year's competition will for the first time bring together men and women's teams from 5 countries: Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa. The championship will run from July 9 to 11th. But sports is back to you, Ladi.
All right, thanks, Chris. The main news again. The Department of State Services has arrested former Minister of Science and Technology, Uche Naji, handing him over to the Dependent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission over allegations of certificate forgery. And a federal high court in Abuja has granted a request of former Petroleum Minister Diezani Alison Madueke to present evidence of her acquittal by United Kingdom court. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams from the team right here at Channels HQ. Have a good evening.